Now, without further delay, we're coming to the center of our program, our Kwanzaa Ceremony, and I'm going to bring forth my good friend, our brother who was at the first Kwanzaa. He's a member both of REFILE and the People's Organization for Progress. In fact, he was first a member of REFILE, and they sent him to us as their ambassador. And he came over and took over. Give Brother Aminifu a big hand.
Ujima. Ujima. I want to make sure that we have it right. And as the chairman, my voice isn't that strong, I'm getting old. Can y'all hear me well?
Yeah.
Okay. And as the chairman had pointed out, I was privileged to be at the first Kwanzaa in history. And I will just give you a little background without going into depth on how Kwanzaa was founded. And this was in Los Angeles, California in 1966, officially. But before Kwanzaa was officially founded, Dr. Maulana Karinga was talking about it. Several years actually. He was one of the few teachers, black teachers in the Los Angeles County school system who was not really afraid to teach black history the way it should be taught. At that time, he was known as Ron Karinga, a local activist, school teacher. He started meeting with a group of brothers who was the first US organization. And some of those brothers you might know, one was by the name of Hakeem Jamal, who wrote a book called From the Dead Number.
That's right, that's Malcolm's cousin.
That's right. And as I pointed out, he was Malcolm X's cousin through marriage. But he was a very strong supporter of Malcolm Hakeem Jamal, and I knew him quite well. We used to talk. And as history would have it, all of the time, him and Maulana Karinga eventually separated, and this history is important to know. Hakeem Jamal went out and started a school named after Malcolm X. I forgot what he called it. But he set up a positive organization and to carry on Malcolm's memory and to continue to teach this history. This is Los Angeles, California, not Harlem or Brooklyn. And before getting into the ceremony, and listening to Dr. Calfani and appreciating the sisters who paid tribute to their ancestors who were members of the organization or affiliated with the organization. I think it's significant. It may be an act of faith. Maybe the God is working. But Kwanzaa, as I said, was founded in Los Angeles, California. And I'm listening to Dr. Calfani give that beautiful libation and tell him where you're from, Dr. Calfani.
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles, California. He was born a year after Kwanzaa was founded. But see, that's the beauty of it. How the work that we started, has carried on. I always give the people of Newark a lot of credit, because if it had not been for the people of Newark, especially under the leadership of America Baraka, Kwanzaa might have died in its infancy.
Wow.
I'm telling you like it is.
Wow.
This movement is not without contradictions. We developed some on the West Coast, and I'm not going to elaborate on it.
All right.
But we don't get out of this struggle without having contradictions, controversies, and disagreements and breakups. It happens. But that's a part of the growing pains. I don't want to sound like I'm teaching or preaching. I see Sister Barbara King stand up. Give her a big hand. When I first came here to Newark, actually in exile from Los Angeles, her and her husband at the time, Brother and Founder, were two of the first friends I made. And Brother and Founder, I think, was a brother and another brother named DeWazo who picked me up at the airport when I first came to Newark. And I see another powerful brother back there, Brother Jim Nance, stand up and think about it. His brother, the late Harold Wilson, was one of our most positive community leaders, and Harold Wilson was the product of both the Nation of Islam and the Committee for a Unified Newark. And unfortunately, I won't even go into it, but we lost him through some ghetto BS. But we must recognize, he doesn't give credit where credit is due.
Absolutely.
And everyone in here, as the chairman has said, this is an audience of freedom fighters. You all have paid your dues. Yes. And it's good to see some young people in here. I am proud of them. But I was lucky to be there, a fortunate or an act of history that Kwanzaa was founded. And as I say, before Kwanzaa was founded, Mount Karinga talked about it for several years. And one of his biggest messages was that black people need holidays.
All right.
Yeah.
At that time, the only thing we had was Negro History Week. Now it's Black History Month.
Yeah.
But at that time, it was Negro History Week.
Yeah.
That was the only national holiday we had. We produce a lot of great people now. But I'm just saying, as time marches on, we get better and better. But you give credit where credit is due. And I grew up in the segregated South. How many of y'all in here grew up in the segregation? I know Willie did. And my man Steve, he's from Mississippi. You know he knows. Man, Mississippi had a reputation so bad. The first time I went to Mississippi, I drove straight through. I wouldn't even get out of my car. And there are a lot of geniuses out there right now amongst our young people. And that's why it's so beautiful to study history. And one of the greatest examples of ones who made that transportation to free from a hooligan and a petty thief and a pimp to become one of the great men of the 20th century was Malcolm X. Let's round him a big hand. I was lucky enough to meet Malcolm the first time in 1959. Wow. In Richmond, Virginia, not New York City. He was on the speaking tour. I had heard about him. And so I sneaked out of town to hear it. And my stepfather was a Baptist preacher, so I had to be careful. But anyway, I went and heard him and soldiered with him, for 6 years. For that matter, but I'm just saying, that generation had its geniuses, its people of courage, and so did the generation that we have now. So rather than beat up on these young people, encourage them.
Right.
But, as was pointed out, and not to take too long, we don't have a lot of time, but Kwanzaa, as you know, was based, the real core of it is the 7 principles of the inclusive South.
Right.
That was developed by Dr. Malvada on the West Coast, and I was fortunate enough to be there when this was taking shape. And I remember now, I'm one by memory, personal experience. The first Kwanzaa actually was dedicated more to young people. And I will tell y'all, I have some pictures of it right over there on that table.
Wow.
All right.
So be sure to look at those pictures when this program is over. This is Los Angeles, California, not North or Philadelphia. 1966, and you'll see young people. These young people are grandfathers, fathers and grandfathers now. It was just like the young people we have out there, young brothers trying to learn. I think the biggest mosque next to New York, the fastest growing in the Nation of Islam was Los Angeles, California. There's something about the West Coast. Certainly at that time. But as I said, Kwanzaa, the concept is based on the 7 principles of the inclusive tolerance. As developed by Dr. Maulana Kareem in his quest, and he felt that our people needed certain principles to live by. And Kareem was a serious scholar. Whatever you heard about him, he was a serious scholar. And I remember listening to him over the radio for maybe 3 years, talking about the fact that black people needed a holiday. And by the time I joined the organization, Kwanzaa was 50 years ago. And I remember the first program was basically dedicated to young people. We got them up, we got some pictures coming over there. One sister will be here tonight, Sister Kichego, who was also there. But I hope she comes. She called me earlier and said she will be here.
I'm here.
Oh, yes. Come over here, man. Will you? Come on.
Yeah, Mama.
I know you just walked in. But this sister was like a cultural powerhouse in us organization. And she was one of those pioneers of the African dance group in us organization. And so she was teaching these young people traditional dances back in the day. I have pictures of her right over here on the table. These pictures were taken 50 years ago now. But I just want to see Sister Kacheko.
He wants you to come to the mic and say something.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
She called me yesterday and asked me when was Kwanzaa. We'd already been talking, and I was encouraging her to come, you know. And but Sister Kacheko, James and Truman, who y'all used to hear raising hell over the radio on the overline, and myself, I'm the only 3 people I know in the East Coast who was there at the very beginning of Kwanzaa. Maybe sister might like to say a few words. I know she just walked in. I want to say hello.
Baligani.
Ujima, Baligani.
Asante! Look at that! Ujima. I am happy to be here and to join your Kwanzaa festivities on this night of Ujima, collective work and responsibility.
Yes.
And it should be something that we should all strive to do in the next year.
Yes.
And that is work with one another and being collective as we can.
Yes.
You know, everybody can't be collective. But most of us can. That's what we need to work on.
Yes.
Asante.
Asante.
Good.
My sister just got out of the hospital recently, and it's so wonderful that she was strong enough and thoughtful enough to come out and spend some time with us. So when you look at her, you're looking at living history. Very few people can say that they were there. And not only that, she was held the us organization's dance group. Now some of y'all have seen those dances spread around the country, but when y'all used to see, this seems was when the Miracle Rockets do the gumbo dance that came from Los Angeles by way of South Africa.
All right, we have